Hello and welcome to another educational video by the Entropy system. I'm Win. If you guys follow us on Tumblr, this is not going to be new news to you. For those of you who don't know already, Mistletoe has integrated. This means that her identity, her consciousness, and mine have merged. We are now one unit together. This came following her learning about the situation around her birth. And it answered a lot of questions that we all sort of had about her and her behavior. Without getting into too many details, basically, Mistletoe was designed only to take good memories. When a child experiences like a flip-flop between really good and really bad, it can be almost more difficult than if everything was just really bad, because then there's all that confusion. And so the story that I was told by Mistletoe and by my headmates is that Jacob saw this confusion and designed Mistletoe to be a sort of like siphon for good memories. She didn't take all of my good memories. I still have a lot of good memories from childhood, but the only memories that she got, the only experiences that she had were good, just purely good. When she started to connect with the rest of the system and sort of become aware of the outside world more than just those experiences she had when I was little and when the body was younger, she was understandably startled by the real world. The rest of us in the system were all very happy to be in a place where we are safe and we are, loved and we are functional and like all these really good things. Like, we're in a really amazing spot in life right now. However, when all of your memories are good, when all of your experiences are good, even this amazing situation that we're in right now is a scary place, because even the best circumstances have not so great things happen. A purely good existence isn't a real existence. Before Mistletoe knew why her idea of reality and our idea of reality were so disjointed, all she saw was us in a very painful world pretending everything was fine. And she didn't know how to help with that. So she started trying to be a mothering person, like, let me care for you, I'll help you through these hard times. And when that didn't work to convince us that things weren't good in her eyes, she started doing some darker things. She tried to convince me to end my life, because in her opinion, that was the only way to escape pain, because pain was everywhere. And so she did that in numerous ways, just kind of attacking me mentally left and right to break me down in order to convince me to do this thing. But she was of course very kind and loving to everybody else, inside and outside the system, because that is who she is. She's a very mothering person. She wasn't blind to the dark nature of her actions, but in her mind, that was a necessary thing that had to be done in order to, take care of me, that was the only option that would lead us to real safety, was to remove any possibility of harm ever happening again by not being alive. When Mistletoe learned about this, she said she needed time to process. So she went really, really back far into the headspace. I could still reach her, but she was very distant, and she just requested some privacy. She was able to help us out during the Nevada trip by taking care of Karen, which I'm really grateful for. But even then she was like, okay, I'll do this, but still, like, I need time to myself. Every now and again, I'd check on her and, kind of send her loving messages, being like, hey, I'm so glad that we learned your story. I'm so excited to bring you back into the system and rework those connections. I'm so happy you're a part of my system. I'm so happy that you loved me so much, that you tried so hard to protect me. Because she wasn't only facing her own reality, she was also having to kind of carry the burden of what she had done to me, and the guilt that came with that when she realized that her perceptions were wrong and what she was doing was actually really hurtful. At one point, roughly probably 2 weeks ago, time's been sort of a blur, but I think it was about 2 weeks ago, I sort of reached back, and when I reached back to talk, this is going to be really hard, like, I don't think there's going to be any way for me to explain exactly what this feels like. When I reach back into the headspace to talk to my headmates, I'll, you know, kind of say their name, and there will be a burst of emotion, like whatever emotion they're feeling at that time. And so like I know I've made that connection. If I can't reach them, like sometimes they just go so far, they bury themselves so deep, or there's something going on with me that I have trouble, you know, getting into the headspace, but I'll reach back to try to find someone, and it'll just be like there's a hole, like there's an emptiness, just empty space. When Mistletoe integrated, and this was before I realized that she integrated, I reached back and it wasn't an emptiness that I felt, it was like a fullness. I don't know, like I had reached in and like touched a mirror, like I was touching like my part of the headspace. And it was really odd. I was like, what is that? Is that like a wall? Did she build a wall around herself? Like, you know, and Jacob very softly was like, hey, Mistletoe integrated. And I was just like, no, she didn't. No, I'm making that up. Jacob didn't actually say that. Around that same time, I started to get like really emotional about the fact that I am not in a spot where it's okay for me to have a baby right now. And I even had like stormed out of a conversation. Like I was with a group of people and they started just sharing stories about their life, which included their children. And when they started talking about their kids, I was just blinded by rage, not at them, but just sort of the situation of how I was the only one there without a child. And I had to leave. I left. It was after that conversation where I left with the baby thing, where I sat down and, you know, Jacob gave that again, hey, that's because Mistletoe's integrated. And I finally really started to think, yeah, maybe it is. I knew integration was coming. The system goal for our system is integration in the long run, but Mistletoe's integration really kind of blindsided me. I wasn't expecting it. I don't think most of my headmates were expecting it. I don't even know if she was expecting it because she didn't talk about it. She didn't say, hey, I'm gonna do this now, you know. It just went, and I'm sure that if she didn't want to integrate, it would not have been possible for her to integrate. So like, at least I have the comfort of knowing, like, you know, this is what she wanted, or else it wouldn't have happened. When I finally realized it, I had this sort of melancholy where, like, she's not gone. Obviously she's not gone because she's part of me, and all these new emotions and thought patterns and stuff that I feel, that's her. But she's still not there in the same way. I had these feelings of like, you know, I never really got the chance to say goodbye. I never really got the chance to work with her, you know, not being at each other's throats, because we fought a lot. We weren't on good standing for basically all of her, you know, active autonomous existence. And I feel like we, you know, never really got a chance to, you know, start a new chapter and get past that and stuff. And so like I felt sad. I was happy the fact that I could like feel her with me, but it was still, you know, it was still sad. The change was sad and it was sudden, and, you know, it was a little difficult to just kind of accept. So her home stayed on the island for a little bit until I was able to really fully accept that she had integrated. But kind of like a little lovely image that I was shown was that her garden, because she loved gardening, she loved flowers. She had this beautiful garden in the headspace, but I was told that the garden had spread and now there were blooming flowers all over the island, and the island was covered in flowers. And I thought that was really, really, I don't know, that was really pretty. It was really a lovely thing to have happen. And then like, okay, so things started coming in waves. There was the baby thing, there was the irritability. Then for about 2 days, me being up front and in the body was exhausting. Like maintaining control of the body made me so tired, and like I like it was just like the brain was like sucking me back, like it was a black hole. After those 2 days, I was still, I'm obviously able to be out now. I'm just like sad all the time. Like I don't know, like I don't have interest in anything. I don't care. Like I don't know, like depression is just hitting. Like I wonder if that was sadness that Mistletoe carried with her. Like if this is a part of her emotions that are integrating into mine, and that she was carrying this hurt and sadness like alone, because she didn't really let me know that she was hurting this bad. You know, she was just processing things on her own. And it could be a lot of different things. It could be me getting my memories from her, because I do remember a lot. You know, I have these sort of like good memories that I didn't have before. And so it could be just like my brain trying to process those new memories are making me really tired and despondent. I don't know. I don't know. To help me with the, you know, understanding of what's going on with me, my therapist gave me this book to read. It's called Switching Time by Richard Bear. Basically, it's just a doctor talking about his experience with a patient with DID who did end up integrating fully at the end of the book. I will say, if you do want to read this, it does go into trauma details. That's something that my therapist warned me about. I know I can't handle trauma details, so basically I'm skipping the entire first, almost all of the book, and I'm just going to read about the integration bit at the end. But this individual, apparently every time a part integrated, she would have to take a break, like big long breaks from therapy even, because it was just so difficult and so physically and mentally tiring to integrate. And that made me feel good. Just to know that like my experience isn't like an anomaly, knowing that I'm not the only one that feels a certain way or goes through a certain thing, makes me feel more valid. Yeah, oh, that was the other thing. I was really kind of scared when I realized that she was integrated, because, like, again, long term, this is what I want. But I thought that I would be way more independent and personally stable than I am right now. That I would be at a point where I didn't have to lean on the others for help as much as I do. And so the fact that that she integrated at a point where I felt so vulnerable, especially coming back from the Nevada trip where, you know, I was out of the body for 2 whole days. It was intimidating to me, because I was like, I don't want to lose anybody else. Like I need everybody else in the system. I can't let go of them right now. You know, my therapist was like, hey, you know what? This is not the time to think about that. Right now, we think about what you're feeling in this moment. Don't try to, you know, what if a bigger picture, just focus on this. And so that's what I'm trying to do. Yeah, the other thing, and I'm really hesitant, like I'm really like, I don't know if I'm going to regret sharing this on YouTube later, because I don't know if it's going to develop into anything more. But during, you know, like during one of our headspace meetings, Jacob was like, all right, now that Mistletoe has integrated, that makes room for Kim Kim. It's like, who the hell is Kim Kim? It's not someone that I could feel at that time. I've kind of done some work, and I've kind of gotten in touch with Kim Kim. I know almost nothing about her, and I'm not going to really dive into more about her until I have more of a grasp on the situation. But that's another thing that's just adding to the stress, because the idea that there are more parts that were made in my childhood is really scary. It's very scary for me, you know, because that means a couple things. That means A, I don't know my whole system, and there is more work to do on that point, you know, that there are parts of my system that I'm not even aware of, that my other system mates aren't aware of. You know, Jacob was the only one. He was like, hey, this is happening. And everybody was like, who? And this isn't the first time that's happened. When Karen came out, back when she was Monster, me was the only one who could see Monster, and so she would talk about her, and we were like, I think the movie Split just hit you way too personally. We don't have a monster that no one else can see. It's fine. But of course we did, and that monster was Karen. She's my sweet little spooky cinnamon roll now. The idea that I don't know all of my parts is intimidating to me, because that means that there is more to my mind that is completely not connected to my front consciousness. It's also scary because that means there are more things about my past that I don't remember. And it's also scary because, like, the unknown is terrifying to me. Being completely free-falling is not something I'm good at. And this would be a situation, if there are more parts, that I'd be free-falling. And I don't like that. So yeah, if that develops, when that develops, whatever, you know, we'll talk about that more. But that's what's been happening with me the past week. I figured this counts as an educational video because it is a person with DID talking about the experience of integration as it's happening, even though, you know, this is more of an emotional education than anything else, because I don't have a lot of facts. All I know is what I'm feeling and I'm still trying to figure out why I'm feeling what I'm feeling and all that jazz. So yeah, that's my video for the week. Yeah, thank you guys. I hope you have a great day. You know, don't forget to subscribe. Keep up with us. Your guys' support means the world. We are very quickly approaching 10,000 subscribers, which, what? Daniel wants to do a celebratory live stream when we get to 10,000. So when we hit that 10K point, we will announce a date. But just so you guys can know in the future, you will get a live stream with Daniel. Hit that subscribe button, keep up with us, that little bell or whatever. And I hope you all have a really good day. Bye.